enjoyed your attack today with Yeshua?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Well, we didn't say tapping. We didn't say tapping here, but not for that reason. Yeshua has a Kabbalah that if there's a bris in one of the minyanim, then there's no minyanim
and there was a bris this morning.
Bris at the 9 o'clock minyan, so nobody said that.
You should know that the Chazon Ish, when he was in Eretz Yisrael, obviously, he would be a moil almost. He'd be a tzaddik almost daily.
Yeah.
Right, and he Shalom we say, and obviously he didn't say tachon, but when it was hey ear, he did say tachon, even if he was a moil.
Wow. Even
if it was a tzaddik. Obviously, yeah. The truth is, that's one thing I just wonder regarding the question: how do you treat the Medina? Hey ear, pros, cons, whatever. Pasha kasha. Kula alma moidu. There was no one like the Chazon Ish. I mean, I'm serious. My Rebbe in Itri, Rabbi Shlomo Fisher, told me that the Chazon Ish was bigger than the Ktsois and the Nesilas. Could you imagine? Yaakov Weinberg, the Swedish Ash, writes in the Tshuva and Acharei Kedoshim that in his circles, from the days of the Gur, there wasn't anyone like him. But, no, it's Yadua. He was just me'al u'mi'ever. Well, the Stipler, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, they were matal themselves ka'afra da'ara to the Chazon Ish. If the Chazon Ish said something, finished. I'm speaking about G'dolei Olam. And look at the biographies that were written of him. Like 3 different biographies, each one 5 to 6 or 7 books. Pe'er Ador, which is 5 volumes. Chayei Ish, 7 volumes. Maran HaChazon Ish, 5 volumes. And he saw the Medina. He died in 1954. Ben Gurion came to Minan. And he said, Name. Who could argue with him? Bamas, that's a question I have. So if it's in learning or halacha, like the chashmal, can you use it in Shabbos or no? Okay, the halacha, there's always different days. But when it comes to how do you look at a situation, a reality, and he said what he said. He said it's not Atchalta de Geula, rather it's Sofa Golus. That's what he said. Okay. Like, Mi avo achar HaMelech. So let's say also Rav Kook was a giant, of course, but he was nifted in 1935. It's 13 years before what happened. No, he lived through it, Chazon Ish. I don't know. I feel that that's a big kasha on anybody who wants to do it differently. Lu Yitzur, the Vilna Gaon, would live in the country and would say what he would say. Would anybody argue with him?
Today probably yes.
I don't know how much is the Chazon Ish. Okay, who I'm going to compare, but everybody says he was his ideas in medicine. I mean, it was Mishuna. But anyway, stop. Okay, Adkan is the Gura. So those who live in the Chazon Ish, they wrote about 20 volumes about him in his biography. The Chavetz Chaim, they're saying, sometimes I think to myself, if someone would live with me for half a year, what would he write? A pamphlet of 3 pages, and 2 pages would be adverts. Nice Could you imagine hundreds and hundreds of Maisalach? With the Chavetz Chaim, the same thing. Look at all the Maisalach we hear about the Chavetz Chaim. So, think to yourself, this was, what would they say? If they would write about me, how many Maisalach would they have? 2? 1 positive, 1 negative? Okay, Rabbi Isai. I want to learn with you today on the Kuda. Let's start. I'll give you an example. It says, Lo tov yoysa odom levadoi, eselo ezer kenegdoi. That's what you say. Rashi say on the spot? Zocha ezer. Lo zacha kenegdo liilochem. Rashi adds a word. Okay. Let's think about when Rashi had a word. Let's go through. What was Rashi, by the way?
Words are contradictory.
How could you have Ezer Kenegdo? It's oxymoron. That was the question. You have it from before already. A chazar, Richard. You know, soon Rabbi said when the door will open and nobody comes in, you should know it's Richard. Look, he's a peiches voilach.
Freezing. Sorry.
No, but you lose. You look. Baruch Hashem, you lost so much weight.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying soon, if the door opens and nobody comes in, it will be you. Yemiyat Hashem. Okay. So Rabbi Rashi was, by the way, it's an oxymoron. Ezer Kenegdo is an oxymoron. Good kasha. So what's it there? It's Zocha Ezer, Lo Zocha Kenegdo Li Lochem. So where did the oxymoron disappear? It's still
They're
oxymoron.
two different situations.
So is she Ezer or Kenegdo?
It was one thing. It was two things.
Can be either or.
So meaning, so what changed between the question and the answer? When Rashi thought it's a kasha,
Ezer Kenegdo was one item.
meaning maybe instead of the word item, initially Rashi thought Ezer Kenegdo simultaneously, at the same time. Same time, you can't have opposites, and that's the yisur we learn tonight. You can't have afachim together at the same time. You can't have water and fire at the same time together. You can have water, you can have fire.
Borrow.
What?
Except for borrow.
Yeah, good. Right? Meaning, what changed between Rashi's kasha and Rashi's answer was that the question he thought she's simultaneously as a kenegdoi. Boto zman or boto shara. How can you be? I'll give you an example. The fire brigade. I have a kasha. Sometimes they come and they spritz water. And sometimes they come and they drown water when there's a flood. So what do? It's opposites. Sometimes they spritz water. How would you say in English instead of spritz? What would you say? Sometimes they water, and sometimes they draw water. So what do? Well, it depends. If it's a fire, they throw water. If it's a flood, they draw water. Is that a steer? No. Sometimes you can be like, if it would be at the same time, that would be impossible. At the same time, it would be impossible. Okay, we say. Taking that you say, let's look at this week's parasha, something small, and then from there we'll take it to something that get to the sphere days. What does it say in the pasuk? Soines bad kodesh yilbash, u'michnes bad yual psar. So says Rashi in pasuk God. Soines bad magid she'eno mishamish lifnim. Again, lifnim means lifnai v'lifnim. B'shmoyne begadim. Shu mishamish b'machutz. The Kohen has Shmoyne Begadim. He does not have Shmoyne Begadim when he goes into Kodesh Kedoshim. Why? Because the Shmoyne Begadim is Sheish B'em Zav. There's gold there. If she'ein katego na'asa sanegor. Gold, as we'll see soon, has to do with chet egel, etc. And kategor, you can't have the prosecutor become a defender. Ella, what does he enter Kodesh Kedoshim with? Ba'al ba'a, 4 Begadim. Kekoin hedyot, like a regular coin. The chulan shel boots. Boots, I think in English means linen.
Yeah.
They're all from linen. Fine. So meaning he does not enter, again, one of the 4 begadim that he has, which are linen, which a koin hedyot has, which are michnasayim, avnet, me'il, and michnasayim, avnet, tainis, not me'il, I'm sorry, you're right. Tainis, and then the migbat u'mitzafes. Moisif alav kohen gadol, when he has a shmoni gami, extra 4. What are the extra 4? Choshen, me'il, tzitz, fod v'tzitz. And they all have to do with zav. Don't come with zav to Kodesh Kedoshim. You come in just with big day boots. Why? En kateg v'nasa sanegar. But b'chutz, meaning if it's not in Kodesh Kedoshim, so then he can wear shmoni gadim. What about the problem in kateg v'nasa sanegar? Well, that exists only b'fnim, not b'chutz. Why? So let's see the Maral on that point. On page 2. The in kateg v'nasa sanegar. Okay? Afal gab. So he's going to go through a few things. Shepar atzmo. The blood of the par, a par has to do with chet ha'egel. And they would bring in lifnaim v'lifnaim. Zeh shani, shekvar nishtane, it's already blood, it looks different. Ve'en kan par, ela dama par. V'lo she'ach b'zeh in kat ha'egel na'asa sanego. Okay, it's a gemara. כך מתרץ מסכת ראש השנה בפרק גמור בייסים. Now he goes on. ואף על גב דבחוץ כל ימות השנה היה משמש לכל גמור בגדי זהב, meaning כל ימות השנה. ולא אמרינן אין קטגו נעשה סנגו, בחוץ שני. אבל בפנים אין קטגו נעשה סנגו. Again, this is a Gemara. ויראה לי, it appears to me, מה שאומרו חכמים, אין קטגו נעשה סנגו, לפי שההפכים לא יסבלו בעניין אחד. You can't have opposites together in one place. ומפני שחטאו בזהב, since their sin wasn't gold, ואם כן, הזהב מתייחס אל החטא. So zahav has to do with the sin. Again, not because they did the egel, therefore the zahav is, it's the other way around. Zahav lends itself to chatoim. And therefore they did the chet egel. ואם כן, הזהב מתייחס אל החטא. לכך אסור לקנוס לפנים, ששם הדיבוק לגמרי. In Kodesh Kedoshim, you're cleaving to Hashem totally. How could you come with some kind of material? How would you call Zav? What's a Zav? What? Which represents a distance from Hashem. Zahav represents, it's more Gashmi, it's Meruchak from Hashem. And therefore it lends itself to Chet. How could you walk into Kodesh Kedoshim with Zav? It's opposite simultaneously. That can't work. כי אנו רואים שהזהב מוכן להיות נפרד על ידו אל הדיבוק, אבל בחוץ שריה. שהרי אין הדיבוק שם לגמרי, ולפי כך אין קטגו נעשה דגו בפנים דווקא, ולא מבחוץ. Fine.
The fatty forum was made of gold, and
I'm sorry?
all the kelim were made of gold.
Right. You're right. But the person wearing it is but it's a good hair what you're asking. In fact, I think the Gemara speaks about that as well. Yeah. Okay, Rabbi, so what's the Ram saying? How come a Kohen Gadol cannot walk in with big days off to Kodesh Kedoshim? What?
It's double legamre.
And it's hafachim b'noisa echad. But that's already the Rambam says. You only have opposites together simultaneously. As a connector. Okay? Right. Fine. Okay. This I do want to use just as a springboard going to the next thing. Let's go to the next page. We're now in the beginning of the Jewish Torah, which was given on Shavuos. And it's mamish, I'm telling you, if you could get your hands on a copy with the harvest, without the harvest, you're going to see it's going to make your Shavuos. Be'ez Hashem. Okay. You know what he explained initially up to now? He explained initially, this is Inyan Beis. Inyan Av, he spoke about again the Yisodis that he speaks about the whole time. Why are we called Adam? Because we come from the Adama. What do we share? And also everything comes from the Adama. Also animals come from the Adama. But we have the characteristics of an Adama. What's the characteristics of an Adama?
Produce.
Endless potential. The production is endless. Endless. Year after year, fruits, vegetables, trees, you dig in, you'll find oil, endless. You can build on it. The endless opportunity, potential. That's what's special about Adam. He has inside potential, and when he unleashes it, you'll see something, a new person's coming out. And it could be, there's no end. If the Vilna Gaon would have lived another week, he would have been even bigger. There's no end to how much a potential person can bring out. We're called Adam because there's a constant potential to unleash. However, Behema, you remember what the Maral says about the word Behema? Bama, what does it mean? The essence, remember Rav Kaduri, Ba is already in her. Actually, Behema means what you see is what you got. Such kind of expression in English? That's Behema. It's all here. She'll grow, she'll become bigger. But you can't say about a cat that one day she will reveal a talent that we never knew that they had. You can't say that. It's all predictable, all here already. Mashiach and Adam, it's endless. Endless what he can bring out and what he can become. Well, first I told you with myself, I'm going to repeat it again, a very known Rav, I don't want to say any details, in Eretz Yisrael today. You all know his name. We were together in Yeshiva High School. He's a little bit older than me. But I remember when he was in Yeshiva High School, he was a Jew. A Jew he always was. Very, very average. According to all yardsticks. Personality-wise, brain-wise, smother-wise, average. And then suddenly you see his name's appearing everywhere. Like 20, 30 years later. So I said to myself, it's not him. I remember him. It's probably a cousin that has the same name. It's very common. The cousins have the same name. They're named after the same Zayda. One time I had to speak in some place in Eretz Yisrael, and his name was there. And I said, I'm going to find out now, is it him or not? And I didn't see him for 30, 40 years. You got to make the cheshbon. Yeah, it's him. I can tell it's him. So after the event, I went over to him. I said, let's see, his name is Moshe. Moshe, Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? You remember me? Yeah, Yeshua. Hi, how are you? Moshe, it's amazing. I see the farm that you're writing, and it's just fantastic. So he tells me, I know what you're thinking about. I know what you're thinking. I said, what am I thinking? You're thinking, how could it be a bum that you knew me in high school? How did this happen? So I already became a little English, being here already. And I said, listen, I didn't deny it because I was thinking of it. I got to be honest. But I'm not going to tell him.
He's not stoned.
I'm not going to tell him. So I said, listen, Moshe, Moshe, I just came to say Shalom Aleichem. That's all. I'm so happy to see you. Yeah, I know that's what you think about. Everybody that knew me from the yeshiva, that's what he thinks about. So since that's what you think about, again, I didn't admit. I didn't deny, but I didn't. I'll tell you what happened. When I was 18, that's when you finish that yeshiva, you're 18. I made a cheshbon. Let's be realistic. If you live to 90, it's God's good. We give brachas, live to 120, but 90 is way above average, right? It's above average. So if you live in good health to 90, it's God's good. I'm already 18. I passed the fifth. There's 4/5 left of 18, 18, 18. What did I accomplish in those first 18 years? I made a cheshbon, 0. That's what he said. Another 4 like that will be 0, 0, 0, and on my tomb will be written, here's buried a 0. I decided I don't want to do that. I'm going to give it all what I have. That's what he told me. And if you would have told then, when we were in high school, that this guy's going to be one of the most chashuv poskim, what? What are you talking about? He'll probably be in business something, which is also nice. But no, meaning he discovered potential that now I'm going to say, this I'm willing to say, I promise he's not a genius. That I'm willing to take a chayes on. He's not a genius. But he just unleashed potential that no one knew that he had. That's Adam.
Why couldn't you say his name?
I'm sorry?
Why didn't you want to say his name? So it'd be a chizuk.
No. I'll ask this rishos. But anyway, I'll call Parim Abu Yisai. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want me to say it. I don't know. I'll call Parim Abu Yisai. That's Adam. Behema, the essence of, there's no surprise by Behema. And Adam means it's also chiyuv that you got to ask yourself, am I progressing? Am I treating my wife better this year than 5 years ago? Am I davening better than 5 years ago? Those are the questions that Adam asks. Am I progressing? I told you, Tzidku Shalevsky, Baruch Hashem, alive and well. He's a guy. He's mamash a guy. And he has a memory, but in a matter of principle, Rabbi Friedman has told me, there's a cycle of Masechtas that they learn every 5-6 years. When you come to a Masechta they learned 5-6 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, as a matter of principle, he doesn't look in his notes from before. When he remembers. Which is probably pretty much. He starts from scratch. And then, only once he goes to the Sugi again this year, and he writes down the Chidushim that came up this year, only then, literally, he compares notes to what he wrote before. And if he sees that in 5 or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, he wrote better, he starts crying. Rabbi Friedman told me this. He says, where's my Adam? Referring to Smaral. Adam means I'm constantly progressing. 10 years ago I wrote better. So what did I do the last 10 years? That's a tviyah that he has on himself. Okay, it's a madrega. So after the Maral explained this Nakuda, that an Adam he has to bring out his potential. So what is it? So he goes on saying, what's required to bring out a potential? What this Moshe said. What is it? You give it all what you have. You got to toil. So says the moral here. "Umipnei shenivra ha'adam la'amal." A person reaches amal. Lekach nitztavu Yisrael limnot mimochas Yom Tov shePesach. The day after Pesach, you start counting Sfira. Not 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, the following day. Why? Shabo on Pesach, we're on page 4 in our handwriting. Yotza b'mitzrayim miyot od shem avodim oivdim ladem. They came out of Egypt and they stopped being slaves to slaves, to masters, human masters. Asher galam Hashem yizborach leviti yod oivdim avodas parach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed them that they're not going to do, how would you say in English, avodas parach? Hard labor? Okay. Like hard physical labor. Bechen, again in the Rashi, instead of saying lechen, he always says bechen. I don't know why. Bechen tziva lebechorat miyad. The following day. Al shiatchilu lehachona letoira lispor mispar yamim asher yavor. Ad ki yu muchanim lekabel oil hatoira u'mitzvos. So here the Rambam is telling us what are the days of Sfira meant for. We are getting ready and prepared to accept upon ourselves the yoke of Torah. That's what Sfira is about. Let's see number 75. Meva'er she'asfira hi likrat Kabbalah Satara. Sfira is, we are now approaching Kabbalah Satara. V'chen lahalat kosav, mitzvahs הספירה שציווה השם יזברך להביא עומר מן הסעורים ביום הראשון שמתחילים ללמוד לקבול הסתרה. ומקורו בזוהר הקודש, שהספירה האחרונה לקבול הסתרה הוא כספירת זבו לבילה. Okay. Good. And look what the Chinuch says on my side. Let's go on. The Chinuch in this beautiful way. The Chekos of the Chinuch. Mishor Shea Mitzvah. You have it, Chaver? You see it? Huh?
Yeah.
Good. And the Tzad Pshat. Lefi shekol ikon sheYisrael eino el Torah. Our whole essence is Torah. V'hi ha'ikon v'hasiba shenigalu v'yatzu miMitzrayim. That's the reason and the cause that we came out of Mitzrayim. כדי שיקבלו התורה בסינא ויקיימוה. כמו שאמר השם למוישה, בזה לך האות כי אנוכי שלחתיך, בהוציאך את עם ממצרים תעבדו לסלוקים על ההר הזה. ופני כן, כי כל עיקרן שישראל ובעבורם נגאלו, ועלו לכל הגדול שעלו עליה, נצטווינו למנות ממוחס יום טוב של פסח, עד יום נשינס התורה, להראות בנפשנו החפץ הגדול אל היום הנכבד הנחשף לליבנו. Our eagerness, we're counting the days. Ke'eved yish'af tzel, like a servant wants shade. V'yimneh tamid, matay yavo ha'et ha'nechsaf elav, sheyitzeh lecheus. That's what the Eved wants. כי המינה מראה לאדם, כי כל ישעו וכל חפצו להגיע אל הזמן ההוא. So even though the Torah just said to count, but the counting is towards Torah. You know what the Chinuch goes on saying? If you're counting the anticipation. For Torah, it should be a countdown. Like when you in NASA in Houston. 10, 9, 1, boom. That's what it should be. So how can we count 1, 2, 3? You should count 40, 49, 48. You know what he answers? It will be too depressing to say there's another 50 days to Matan Torah. That's too far. 50 days till Matan Torah? What am I going to do for 50 days? So you count 1, 2, 3 that way. Not big numbers. He says halfway already should have really changed. From like 25 start counting downwards. But once we started this style, we're going to keep on. That's what the Chinuch says. But the Sfira is what we say, that we are counting towards getting ready for Matan Torah. Why? Meaning, why immediately after Pesach? Let's see what he says after number 75 in the Maral. Leval ya'aleh al da'atan, that it should not come to your mind. Lomar, hineh anachnu bnei chorin legamri. We're totally free people after it says time. Ba'asher hotzianu mimitzrayim bebeis avodim. So I'm free. I don't have to toil now for Torah. I'm a free bird. The chol od hiyos ha'adam. We're now on page 5, the next page. Ala adama einenu ben chorin. As long as you are on the soil of earth, planet earth, you're not free. Why do you think he mentions earth, Adama? Why did you say as long as you're alive? You got to bring out the zin and you got to bring out your potential. Amala Amal Hulula. So here comes the kasha. So how come it's immediately after Pesach? That you should have the mind entertain the possibility, I'm free. I could sleep now the whole day. I came out of a ruthless king. I'm free now and live and let live. The next day I already start counting. And the counting is, he's alluding to it, from Sa'orim. Sa'orim is Michael Behema, and like you said earlier, a baby works hard. A baby has to schlep and go. You got to work. You got to toil. The next day start toiling. Because that's what you're here for this world, to toil. Okay? So this is the kudah, that you're here in the world to toil. If you think about it, that's one of the chilukim between Yisrael and Ami. Right? I have Kedorovich.
Yep.
I'm making an Ashkenazi spin to it. Okay? Again, two nukudos I heard from Moshe Zatzal. One, which season of the year, youth, what's called youth? From the age of 15 to 70?
Spring.
You agree? Youth, from the age of 15 to 70.
Yeah.
You agree? 75.
17.
Okay. That's youth. Which season of the year is youth corresponding to?
Spring.
How do you know? But how do you know it's spring? It's a professor Shakespeare, I'm serious.
Oh,
Mefesh.
by Chazal it's quite so.
By Chazal it's winter. It's a pasuk.
Yeah.
Where's the pasuk?
Yeah.
Where?
It's in the beginning of the Tanchuma.
Per Kaftes. Biyom Chorpi.
Yeah.
You know, the Chassam Sofer uses it a lot. It's his lashon. Some Achronim use it a lot when they quote what they wrote when they were younger, or what they said when they were younger. Ubimei Chulpi Amalti. Did you ever hear the expression? Where he said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bimei Chulpi. Why do Chazal? Again, it's a pasuk in Eov. Why do they call it after the winter and the Goyim called after the spring? And like you said, Rav Kaduri, it's blasphemy. Whatever. It seems more sense to do what the Goyim do.
Yeah.
Right? So explain, Rabbi Isha. It's a Gemara B'Matzeh Daf Kuvav. What do you do in the agriculture in the winter? What do you do in the agriculture in the field in the spring? In the winter, you plant, you work, you sow, you plant, you're working hard. In the spring, you already start harvesting. Chag HaKatzir. You already the profits, the fun part. When you're in youth stage, Baruch Hashem, you're in top form. No back pains, no blood pressure. Hakol, the machine's working great. You're in top form, top shape. What do you do with all this energy that you have when you're youngster? You devote it to the goal that you came for the world for. If you came to the world to have fun, to harvest, so then use all that to have fun. You can't do skiing when you're 88. You can't play football when you're 73. But when you're young, chaparine. How would you say chaparine in English?
Grab the opportunity.
Grab it as much as you could. Because when you're young, you're in your best form, so grab as much as you could. That's called spring, harvesting. We say, no, you're here to work. There you're going to rest and have fun. Hayom la'asoisa, the Gemara Eruvin, umachal lekabel schoran. Here you work. So you take all that energy for working. You can't learn 18 hours a day if you're an old man already. You just can't do it anymore. You don't have the klechus. Right? I tell you that Rav Hutner said over that he went to the Chofetz Chaim. He went to the Chofetz Chaim. He had a kasha on what he paskins in the Bir Halacha and Simon Tzalach Beis. The Bir Halacha paskins that you could say Shema in a foreign language, but only if it's the local language. You want to say it in French? It has to be in France. You want to say it in Spanish? It has to be in Spain. Lashon HaKodesh you can say anywhere. But foreign languages, it has to be the venue of that language. The venue speaks that language. And Rav Hutner had a big kasha on it. And he went to ask Rav Chaim, he was in his 20s. And he went to ask Rav Chaim Oizer the kasha. And Rav Chaim Oizer said, "Psh, like a gewaltige kasha. Go to Radin and ask the Chofetz Chaim. Tell him I sent you." And he went. And the Chavetz was very hard in hearing already. Before they had a very loud voice. And he asked the kasha, and the Chavetz said, "Was?" He asked it again, "Nachamal." And the third time, "Oh, I hear your kasha." And the Chavetz told him, "It's a good kasha, but I want to tell you something. I remember when I paskin this halacha, I was duch in the sugya. Today I don't have the koiches to do it again." But that was the answer the Chavetz gave him. He came back to Reb Chaim Rizzer. Reb Chaim Rizzer said, "No, what did the Chavetz say? He heard my kasha. He didn't answer me, but he just said when I was in this when I passed in this halacha, I was into the sugya till the end. But today I'm too old to do it." Said Reb Chaim Rizzer, "Kfar hoy lo zaken." So we're not changing it then. He heard your kasha and changed his mind. He said I was in the sugya. But why am I telling you over this story now? First of all, stop. It's nice to say stories. Second of all, when you get older, you don't have the koiches anymore. The Chavetz did not have the koiches to go. It's not with the Chazon Ish also. The Chazon Ish would look at his Kedoshim that he wrote as a youngster, but it was already very old. He said, "I don't have the koiches now to get into it again." Like when you grow, you get more, but then there's a stage you don't have the koiches. Right? Nachon? So when you're a youngster, you take all these koiches to plant, to sow. You take all these koiches to harvest, to chaparai. Rabbi said, I'll give you another example to this also from Rabbi Shapira. The 7 days of the week. What's the first day of the week? Kulam Amoid was Sunday. Sunday has to do with the word sun. Monday has to do with the word moon. It goes with, yeah. What's the last day of the week? Saturday. Kula Amoidu. There's no argument about that. By the Goyim, the first day of the week is the day off, and by Yisrael, it's the last day of the week. What do you think this shows? Makatupo.
You're working towards that.
Meaning, of course you have a day off. At the end, not now. Shabbos is the main of the Here you toil. Here you work. The first day of the week you already have off. You didn't earn it, but I already reached my destination, so why should I do? Fine, I'm already here. That small chiluk, Saturday, Sunday, that's the chiluk between Yisrael and Avim. Okay, so says the Maharal, that right? Okay, so what's that? Now we ask the question. So why don't you have Sfira on Leila Seder? Why did you push off to the next day? It should be when you say Allah Chilas Matzah, and when you're toivel the chareses, get up there and say it, Sfira. Right? Right? Why don't you count on Leila Seder? Especially if the point is there's no breaks. Immediately, the following day of Pesach, immediately you start counting, which shows I'm getting ready for the next mission, getting ready for Matan Torah. Why don't you do it 24 hours earlier? That's what he's going to ask now. Give a look what he says. After number 77, on page 5. ולא אמרה התורה להתחיל הספירה ביום טוב עצמו, כי הוראת התחלת הספירה היא על העומר. That's toiling. כמו שיבוא, like I'm going to explain later, שזהו עניין הקרוב הסוערים ומן הסוערים. Again, referring to סוערים means toiling. ויום טוב ראשון מורה על החירוס. ואיך יהיו שני דברים הפכים? How could you have two opposites together? דהיינו החירוס והעומר בזמן אחד יחד, כי אין ההפכים נמצאים יחד. Again, saying over this side. The first day of Yom Tov, you're commemorating Cherus. That's what you're doing. You can't have on that day now toiling. It has to be pushed up at least for 24 hours.
It's not Cherus from Hashem. It's Cherus from Yetzirah, from Meitzah.
No. It's Cherus that we're free people.
To serve Hashem.
Okay, but still, obviously, it will lead to that. But look at this lashon. מורה על החירוס, ואיך יהיו שני דברים הפכים, דהיינו החירוס והעומר בזמן אחד. כי אין הפכים נמצאים יחד. But I hear Ari's kasha. Ari's asking, what does it really mean? What does it mean, Rabbi? First of all, it says, אין לך בן חוירין אלא מי ש... What's the lashon there in Perek Shishi? אין לך בן חוירין אלא מי שעוסק בתורה. And some Mishnah, some Muschar says, "En lechem ben cholim misher esik b'talmud Torah." It's the epitome of freedom. So what's the Rambam saying? I can't have amelus. I can't have amelus on Yom Tov Rishon because amelus and cherus are opposites. What about that price? En lechem ben cholim misher esik b'Torah. Right? It's a kasha. Right. So, this question is brought down in footnote 79. I'll tell you early because I want to make sure we're going to finish. There's a chiluk apparently between cherus and ben chorin, which means ben chorin is what you start saying, Ari. You're free from all other things that regular people are constantly fighting with. Yetzaharas and timus and koven, etc. But cherus means, let's bring it out. Shabbos is be'ein oilam haba, right? What's Yom Tov? Be'ein what? We just had a Yom Tov now. What is it? So the Maral says in Netzach Surah Perek Mavav, not in those words, but that's how Moshe Shapiro understood it. Shabbos is be'ein oilam haba. The final. Yom Tov is be'ein Yemos HaMashiach. A big insight. Mashiach is not yet the end of the end. It's an important day, but it's not Adasof. Okay. What happens in the Yom Tov? You're commemorating not only what happened once, but you're joining that event. You're re-experiencing it. You're re-experiencing Cherus, which means you reached your destination of Cherus. Amal and Yigia is you did not reach your destination. Again, what's another word for toiling in Hebrew? Amal. What's another word?
Yigia.
Yigia. Where does Yigia come from? Which word? Lahagia, to reach. I mean, I'm not yet there. I got to toil to reach it. But a Yom Tov means you are there. That's what you're commemorating. How could you have, I am there, but I'm still on the journey? That would be an opposite. Amal and Cherus of a Yom Tov, not Ben Chorin. Ben Chorin means you're free from all low Yetzaharas and Timus, which is phenomenal. But Cherus means experiencing freedom. Freedom means that the Yom Tov means this is a benchmark. I'm back again to what happened then. And what happened then in Yetzias Mitzrayim? There was an element of we reached something. We got there. How could you have on this day something which shows I'm not yet there? That would be a stira. Interesting, such an article of the Maharal. Really, this is what makes him famous, these kind of insights. You can't have Sfira on Lena Seder. Sfira is that you did not reach your place. It shows your Amal, the Yigia. It comes from barley, the Omer, which shows you have a lot of work still ahead of you. And Cheres means you have reached already an element of freedom, and therefore you can't reach and be on the journey simultaneously. But here comes a question, which Rabbi Yehuda wants to ask. Rabbi Yehuda wants to ask, one second, the other days of Pesach are not called Chag Cheres? Don't we say on all Pesach Zman Chereseinu? You should push it up by a week. What were you saying, such kind of kasha? The Rambam says you can't have on the first night. The first night is Cheres. You can't have Cheres and Amal simultaneously. Fine. But the next day, then you could. And look, we do it. Even though by us it's Yom Tov, and Eretz Yisrael it's already Cholamayim, then we start benching Sfira. How does that go with each other? What would you say, guys? Today the Olam was a bisschen verschlaft. Come on, Chavre. What would you say? So Rabbi said there's really two answers to this. And it appears to also, answer number one is, Rabbi say, I'll tell you something. I feel, and I'm going to have to ask my psychologist why, Pesach is once every 2 years, not every year. I see Richard's looking at me like I fell from the moon. He's right. My wife feels it's twice a year because she works so hard on it. Again, whoever has to go down my mind, vakasha. Right? You know why? I try to ask myself, Sukkot is once a year. I feel it. Pesach is once every other year. Why? You can say, fine. But I figured out, it's special. I'll tell you why. Sukkot is your experience for the whole 7 days. You sit in a sukkah, you make a bracha, you take a lulav every day. It's Sukkot. Pesach, the only Pesach thing is at night, the Leil Seder. Even if you eat matzah the rest of the days, you don't make a bracha anymore. There's no sukkah, there's nothing. It's 5 hours. Pesach is 5 hours. When you're eating matzah, that's Pesach. The rest of the days you don't have to eat matzah. If you want to eat, the Goyen says it's still a mitzvah. But definitely you don't make a bracha. Kula alma moedu, you don't make a bracha. So there is something on that first night which is more than the other days. Chiyuv achilas matzah. Matzah is cherus. The other days, it's called Zman Cheruseinu, but it doesn't have the same toikev. How do you say toikev in English?
Take it.
Come on.
Strength.
Power, strength. It doesn't. It doesn't have the same koach. So that's one way how to answer this question. Another way to answer this question is, you said the well always, the beginning is its full expression. A chassan, your moichel is avonos. Why? Because he has a wife. And what about all of us? What about if you're married already for 45 years? So you have, so how can we not moichel avonos then? Why only a chassan? It's the most sharpest, freshest expression, but it's in the beginning. Afterwards, a little bit drags on away. Ha'ikar mitgaleh ba'atchala. That's Lashon Hara. The ikar is revealed at the beginning. How do you say in Aramaic at the beginning? The ikara, which is the word ikar. And in Israel, the Chadashot. Anybody know how you say the Chadashot in Israel? V'ikaran tchila. Ever hear that? The main points first. The ikar is at the beginning. Okay, we're going to stop here, and we want to wish all the Jewish people that we're building up. We're building up towards Matan Torah. Okay, let me say. If you want to stay with the sheets, you can stay. If you want to give it back to me, as you wish.